James, you wanted to see a dwarf mongoose track? Oh my goodness. Right. This is where they were playing. There's their poor stick that's been traumatized today, given the activities. Right, James, let me jump out and see if I can get you a good, clear dwarf mongoose track. Not always so easy with dwarf mongoose. They're not nearly as big as a white-tailed. Me and my bright ideas, huh? Hold on. I need to duck round this side. Oh, James. Nope. I mean, we know they were here, so it's not like... Aha! Aha, found you some. Found you some, I found you some, I found you some. That are slightly... Oh, can we link to who? Okay, let's go back to James and the elephant. I'll get back to you with the track.
Okay, we've got a very close view here of an elephant cow, part of the herd. Again, they're the other side of a very steep drainage line, so we're not too nervous about being here. They're probably only about 25 meters away. They could cross this drainage, but there's enough time for us to move away if they decide to do that. At the moment, quite astonishingly, they seem to have no idea that we're here. We were just walking along the road here and we suddenly saw them there. We decided to move away. And while we sit here and looking, we're constantly watching either side, just to make sure part of this big herd isn't somewhere that we haven't seen before. Here comes another little one. Now this is a rare and very real feeling and touch of complete wildness. We are less than 50 yards from a herd of elephants. I'm just watching her trunk, the main cow's trunk there, just to see if she's trying to smell or if she's breaking branches. She's breaking branches at the moment now. She's lifting her trunk, and I've checked the wind and it's swirling slightly. Now she's smelling. I think she might pick us up. I don't want her to pick us up. So we're going to move off down the road here. Let's go, Seb. We'd probably be quite safe here. She might even become aware of us. There's another view of them there. Just try and walk carefully, carefully. Yeah, they've seen us now. Let's move. So we're just going to move away. They have seen us. There's no danger. But they've just now... She's looking up at us. And we don't want to create any kind of a conflict. So we're going to move away. We show them that we're moving away. We don't assume any kind of downward posture like a predator might. We just move off. And there are more of them all the way along this drainage line. I'm not going to ask Seb to show them to you because he'll fall over his feet and then we'll be in trouble. You can have one bit look there, Seb. Tell you what, why don't you walk this side of the road? I'll walk this side. There we can see them there. It is a massive, massive herd. Now there's no need for them to show any alarm because we've moved off as soon as they saw us. But this drainage line is becoming less and less steep. And that means that it becomes much more easy for them to start feeding in the base of the drainage line. Lyra, you're wondering what the population of elephants is. It's extremely variable. In the Greater Kruger National Park and the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park, in which we find ourselves, they've refused to release the numbers for some reason, but it's probably in the region of about 15,000 elephants, I would say. In this area, in the Sabi Sand, in the winter time, it goes up hugely, probably to over 1,000. sometimes up to 1,500 or so. And then in the summer, it goes down because there's water everywhere in the Kruger. There's water everywhere in the area. Now in the winter time, what happens is the water concentrates. The private landowners of the Sabi Sand pump water, which means that the elephants come into this area. A giraffe. Oh yes, and there's a giraffe sitting through there, feeding oblivious to the elephants. So we'll give you a quick view of that, and then we're going to just quickly get Seb to swing to the right-hand side to show us the rest of the herd, and we're going to move.
Where's the giraffe?
It's there. Just can't find it in the viewfinder at the moment. You got it?
No. Hold on, that's the tree.
He can see it with his eyes, just not with the camera at the moment.
Yeah, here we go.
You got him. So there's a giraffe feeding similar vegetation to what the elephants are feeding on. And then I'm going to ask Seb to just spin slowly round to the right, and you'll see that the elephants have come out into the sun. There we go. We're going to keep moving along here. As I say, the drainage is getting a lot more shallow. And here's a nice view. Now, there's a view here of an elephant and her calf, sorry. And I think she's aware of us, and I'll show you why I think that. I'm going to move through here. Well, there they're moving off there. They're moving off, and I think they're aware of us. I just saw the cow just turn her head slightly. Look, this one coming into view now is now trying to pick us up with her scent. Can you see that, Seb? If you come over here. Very aware of us. See that there?
Oh, yeah.
They're not alarmed, but they're aware. There we are. Now, Mika, you're quite clever, obviously. You're just 8 years old, and you say, can an elephant jump underwater? They can, you know. Just like it's easy for us to jump underwater, because we're not very heavy underwater. I don't know if you know how that feels. But if an elephant goes under the water, and sometimes they do, they'll go into very deep water. Yeah, I think they can probably jump up and push themselves off the ground. Probably. Look, there's quite a nice view. Beautiful view of a big cow. And she's smelling, and the wind is swirling. It's all over the place. So she will be picking up our scent from time to time, and then it'll go away again. This is a very special elephant sighting, everyone. For us to have them for this length of time is very special. And although it's not quite as close up as you get in a vehicle, I hope in some way that we are transferring the feeling that being around these animals gives to us as human beings. It is really quite profound. And if you ever get the chance to come and view these animals on foot, then you should do that. Tanya, you say, should the elephants know that we're here and just not care? No, these elephants, they do care. They care about people because they are worried about us. They see us as predators. That cow that you're looking at now, the big cow, is watching. She can see us. There's no question in my mind that she's watching us to check our intentions. That's why the whole herd there stopped with her, and they're not feeding. They're waiting. The others behind her are not aware. The ones that we showed you before, just after the giraffe, they're not aware of us. This bunch is, though, there. And I think she's the matriarch of that little group. And her whole herd has stopped feeding. They're quite a distance now. They're about 150 meters away from us. So I don't think we're in any danger, but that's not the entire point, of course. The point is that they don't feel threatened enough to change their behavior. So although she's aware of us, I'm not too worried. I'm a little bit sad that she's picked us up, but I'm not that worried because they haven't sort of taken off at high dudgeon with their tails stuck out behind them. She's definitely very aware of us. The rest, however, are feeding very peacefully along. And now her herd's starting to feed again. She's not, but she's pulled her ears in. She's put her head down slightly. And the wind is now relatively more consistent coming from our backs towards her. And just as I said that, it's got a little bit stronger. And so I suspect she's picking up our scent now as well. The rest of the herd started feeding again. Can you see that, Zeb?
Behind her?
Yeah, next to her and behind her. Yeah, they've just started feeding again.
Yeah.
So they're not panicked about us. She's just keeping an eye. She's smelling us now, deciding if we are a threat. And Jamie, you've got a question about elephant tusks and at what stage they start to grow. They have two sets of tusks. They have a milk set and a permanent set. Same as you and I have milk teeth and permanent teeth. And in the bulls, normally the tusks will erupt around about 18 months, 12 months. And in the cows, about 18 months or so. I think you'll probably find that it's extremely variable, though. In the same way that our teething is quite variable. Alright, I think we've had all the view that we're going to, and before any of them become upset with us, we're going to melt away gently up into the bush here, and we're going to let her watch us go. I'm just going to watch that spider. And so as we do that, we're going to head across to Jamie and find out what she's going to do with the rest of her morning.
I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of the morning. I'm going to trundle along and listen to them talking about the wild dogs on Buffelshoek that apparently are lying down. So they're not moving at the moment. They're not coming across to Djuma. Oh, I see an elephant. I see an elephant very, very far away. Look at that. There we go. Did you see it there, Ferg? I see an elephant. Have you spotted it yet? There's the elephant crossing onto Buffelshoek. Please wait for me, elephant. It's going to take me a while to get there. Oh, there's a little one too. I wonder if it's the one that deposited the tiny pile of dung I just saw on the road. Well, I suppose we could probably get closer to those elephants and check for the leopard at the same time. But before I do that, James, because I have a suspicion these elephants are going to cross before I have a chance to get there, I tried very hard. Oh, is this going to be a bit too glary? Let me put my shadow over it. See if that helps. I tried very hard to get you a picture of a dwarf mongoose track. That's the track over there. That's obviously my fingernail, in case you needed any clarification. That's its little toes over there. That's its little back pad. And as you can see, I went a little bit wild trying to get you a picture of the little track. There you go. And then there's the next one, which is over there. There's its tiny little toes, the claws visible. And then that one is almost invisible. But that's the dwarf mongoose track over there. I tried my best to get a good photo of the dwarf mongoose track, but it was a bit of a tricky one. They're so light and the ground is so... Oh, sorry, Ferg, that was very sudden of me. Dwarf mongoose are so light and the ground is damp, and it made for a very tricky experience trying to get a photograph of their tracks. Okay, let's catch up with these ellies. I don't want to go too fast in case I miss the leopard tracks around this area, because this is where this leopard was calling from. I'm a little bit concerned that it was Djuma that was calling. It's going to make life very difficult trying to find him. We need another situation where Djuma's got a kill, because that's how Brent started the habituation process. But it hasn't really had the opportunity to continue. Standing by, Herbie. I didn't. Thanks, Herbs. I'm all the way Buffles cut line, Cheetah cut line, but I'll start making my way slowly that side. Our list. Yesterday, of course, I had a chance to see Nkanyeni for the very, very first time. And you want to know if there's any other leopard I'd like to see now that I've had the opportunity to see Nkanyeni. I would really love to see... Oh, it's so difficult. It really is. I haven't had a chance to see Shadow's cub yet, her new cub. I would really like to see Shumbambalana. I haven't seen him. I would love to catch up with Sindile again. It's been a long time since we last saw Sindile. He's done what male leopards do, which is disperse. He's moving around a lot. I don't even know when he was last seen. So those are all creatures, all leopards that are on my list of leopards that I would really, really love to see. Karula. I'd love to see Karula. It's a difficult one. It's a really difficult question. And really, I'm not too fussy. It was just so nice to see Nkanyeni because I'd heard so much about her and her fabled beauty. And of course, it felt wrong that I'd seen Vutomi so many times, but hadn't yet had a chance to catch up with his mum. So I was really happy to see Nkanyeni. But ultimately, any leopard is a treasured leopard. I'm content now. Jason, you want to know if I can name all of Karula's cubs that I've seen? Yes, I can. I will tell you in a second. Okay, we're going to have an odd moment where I'm going to talk about leopards, but look at elephants. But that's okay. You were able to keep up, I'm sure. I have seen Shadow, Tundi. I have seen Kunyuma. I have seen Quarantine. I have seen Shongile and Hosanna. I have not seen Mishu and Nduna. I have not seen Shimvambalana or Shinvinzi. And that, I think, is that. I've seen 6 out of the 10, which is not bad. I know that Tristan's just missing Quarantine off his list, but I've seen 6 out of 10, and those are the ones that I'm most likely to see. So I'm happy with that. I'm very, very happy with that. And I've seen grandchildren as well. Vutomi, Sindile, Tamba. Those are all grandchildren of Karula. Kuchava. I've seen Kuchava. Also a granddaughter. That's not too bad, is it? Not bad at all. Hello, Elise. You're a lovely surprise. You're a tiny little one. Wait, Mum. Wait for me. Oh, my goodness. Ferg, that elephant on the left. She looks like she's going to pop. She looks as though if she brushed too hard up against a tree, she'd have that baby. My goodness gracious, that is one very pregnant elephant. Look at you. Oh, that can't be comfortable. Hey, girl. I wonder, I'm absolutely no good at telling how pregnant or how far along an elephant is. I can go, she's a little bit pregnant, and I can go, she's very pregnant, which, you know what I mean. Obviously, there's no degrees of pregnancy, but there are stages. But I wish I was better at it, because I would love to be able to tell you how far along she is, or how soon, how imminent that birth is. I would guess and say not more than a couple of months, surely. She's looking particularly rotund this morning. It's one thing I've never seen. I've come very close a couple of times in my life. Very, very close. One of the closest I've been, I suppose, was with all of you on that live safari, but I've never seen an elephant give birth. I've seen them mate, and I've found a warm placenta once and a tiny baby, but I've never seen them give birth. Now, Bill, you want to know when an animal gives birth, how is the umbilical cord cut? Most of the time it snaps off by itself. A lot of the time the drop is sufficient to sever the umbilical cord. A lot of the time when you see baby elephants or baby animals in general, the umbilical cord is still wobbling about underneath them, and it takes quite a long time to actually dry up and fall off. You see it quite regularly with baby impala and baby giraffe as well. In fact, baby giraffe, you can see an umbilical cord still attached for a couple of weeks potentially after it's born. But the drop does sever it from the placenta. And then, of course, the mother then eats a lot of the time, not in the case of elephants, but a lot of the time the mother will then eat the placenta as a way of reabsorbing nutrients. We've seen a lot of live births on these live safaris. Impala, wildebeest, that amazing zebra sighting that James had. Oh, Ferg, look at this baby. Sorry, I know we're distracted now, but look at this baby. Is it stuck? I don't think it's stuck, but I think it's decided to go forwards rather than backwards. Or is it just very itchy? Maybe it's just got an itchy ear. Found its way in between two bush willows. Jeremiah, while we watch the situation play out and talking about elephants, you want to know how often do elephants have twins? Very, 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 very rarely. There's only a couple of recorded cases that we know of. Itchy face. It's highly unusual, and I think there's even situations probably where a twin has been called, and in fact it's not a twin but just another calf of a similar age that's hanging out with its cousin. But it does happen. Elephants do occasionally give birth to twins. But you can imagine, I mean, the toll on a mother's body, it's one thing to give birth to a 100-kilogram baby. To give birth to twins must be a very tough process for them. And I know that the fact that it's extended over 22 months, the gestation period, actually makes it less taxing on the elephant's body. But still, they also think that the number of recorded giraffe twin births might actually be exaggerated due to the habit of giraffe of leaving their calves, or for the calves sort of straying a bit further away from their mothers than might otherwise be the case. I'm just moving off the road for another vehicle. Sweet little one. Hi guys. No problem. No worries. Yeah, you're welcome to go if you can sneak past them. We are live, but it's... Otherwise we could just enjoy together. Oh, okay. Okay. Here we go. Little one. Feeding. It's only at about 6 months old that the elephant calves will start to eat solid food, but they'll still chew before then. Now this one I would put at about 6 months old, but they'll still, their natural curiosity and their natural learning process. Nancy, you want to know if he or she is trying to push over this tree. I think there's a little bit of that, yes. I'm not quite sure exactly what this baby elephant's doing. I actually think it's trying to just snap that branch off so it can eat it. And chewing on the bark a little bit. Obviously doing so without the same degree of skill that an adult might exhibit. It takes a while to learn how to use the trunk and the mouth simultaneously. It might even be teething, you know. It might actually be chewing to relieve some of the gum discomfort of the molars coming through. It will have molars. They will... Oh, watch your eye, little one. You're making me nervous. I feel like a fussy mother. No, I think it was just after a little bit of bark, Nancy. Let's see if it's a he or a she. Ooh, down a little bit, Ferg. She. Looks like a she. A little she. So I'm not quite sure. Now she appears to be practicing her tree climbing skills, which is of course vital for all elephant calves to develop. They will often climb up into the trees for safety. I'm joking, please don't believe me. Please don't take me too seriously on that one. A lot of the time it's all just practicing. Coordination. Priscilla, good question. You want to know if there's any reason for an elephant cow to reject her calf. There's probably situations where it has happened. I think it is very rare. I mean, you get those heart-wrenching clips of females whose babies have either been stillborn or have died thanks to a lack of nutrition, and the mother just stays there and desperately tries to get them to stand up. Utterly heartbreaking to witness. I think it would take a dire situation indeed for a mother to ultimately abandon her calf. Oh, good night. You're going to sleep now. Lying down behind one of the adults. I guess in a situation where there's very little food, very little water, she's not lactating properly, the rest of the herd is leaving her behind. But even then, I doubt that a mother could really be goaded into leaving her baby behind. The bonds are so strong. Oh, is it nap time or rolling in the grass? Adrienne? Sorry, you want to know if the survival rates of twin births are the same as a single birth? Probably not in a situation where there's a drought, because you've just got to, double the demand on the mother's resources. But I think otherwise the survival rates would probably be the same. In a situation where there's plenty of resources to go around and the mother's producing plenty of milk, I think it probably would be the same. They've got such a protective group. Now, Christina, you want to know whether or not they have a teething pain when their tusks come in. Yes, they do. They teeth like toddlers' teeth, and one of the things that they will do, there's a young male that's basically standing on this calf. Don't do that. You will get into such trouble. Ooh, I would not do that. Your mom is going to come and be very, very cross with you in a second. That baby's going to scream. I'm not even going to try and explain that one. Natural hormones, dominance, the unfortunate reality of living together in a group. Teenage male, I've got nothing. I think it was relatively clear what was happening there. His natural instincts, his natural hormones. He's lucky he didn't get smacked by the female. If that calf had made a noise, Mom would be over there in a few seconds to try and push him away. We see that happen regularly with baboons and monkeys, with primates in general. Is it any wonder, then, that the young males get kicked out of the herd? I think we've just been provided with quite a clear explanation as to why that occurs. Mister, you are definitely barking up the wrong tree there. Go for it. Please go ahead. Cheers, guys. Shame. One of the vehicles has been sitting next to us trying to get past the entire time. They've desperately got to get to the gate, and unfortunately they're just going to have to squeeze past these elephants. Mercy, you want to know if elephants will go through menopause. They don't. Not in the same way, as far as I know, that I'm going to go and check that baby's okay in a second. That was really quite traumatic. As far as I know, they don't, although I think that their natural fertility will go down. I'll tell you something interesting about elephants and menopause. Obviously, all mammals are born with the number of eggs that they are going to produce in their lives. And there's an interesting situation where I worked with quite a bit into research being done on contraception of elephants. The reason that they do that is we don't need it here, but in closed reserves, in closed systems, which are an essential part of of expansion of conservation in South Africa. I'll explain a bit more. This is quite complex and I don't want to go into full detail. I'll get a bit closer to the Ellies and explain a little bit more to you in a bit. But in the meantime, let's go across to Tristan so we can find out where on earth he's been.
Well, we went to that dark place where no one should go. No, I'm joking. We went to Gremlin Central. We were on Cheetah Plains, and for some reason this morning Rusty and the Cheetah Plains antenna just did not want to talk to one another, and so we had no signal. Then we got trapped by a big elephant bull on the road, and so we had to sit and wait for him until he decided to move off, which took a while. He was happily feeding on a massive marula and obstructing our way home, really. And then we got sidetracked a bit with Sticks tracks and Cubs tracks, and there was tracks for lions everywhere, all over the road. In places the road just looked like one big lion track, and unfortunately no sign of them. It looks like they maybe have crossed into Torchwood or into Nkoro, one of those areas, but they were all over around Cheetah Plains Lodge, so definitely try again this afternoon if we can fix that reception issue. Other than that, it was very quiet. There was no sign of any cheetah or anything like that. There was just the elephant bull. So unfortunately, it's been a long, quiet drive out there. But there's lots of potential for a lot of sightings out that way. So now we've come up towards Cheetah Cut Line, and then I might do Central and just see if we can't help Jamie with this male leopard that was calling this morning. Maybe he's somewhere around here. We get lucky and Tingana pops out, or Djuma. If it's Djuma, it's not the most ideal leopard to find because he tends to be quite shy and skittish during the day. Much better to try look for him at night. But we'll try and see. Maybe it is Tingana. The tracks come all the way from Arathusa, Simambili. I was speaking to the guys and they were telling me that they were tracking those tracks this morning, and then Jamie had the tracks on around the gate. So we'll see just who it is. It'll be interesting if it's not Tingana because it's its normal route. So Mrs. Viewer, I think it was the name, you were wondering if the leopard names are all traditional names for South Africa. Well, they are to a degree. There aren't some that are not. Shadow, for example, is not really a traditional South African name, but the rest are. So Tingana, Hosana, Shongile, those are all correct sort of names for this area in the Shangaan language. There are one or two that are not actually correct, that are spelt wrong, which is Karula is one of them, that is actually not spelt the right way, but it's been sort of named, and that process has gone for quite a while, so it's just been kept that way. But yes, we try and name them according to traditional names from this area, and to try and kind of keep it as authentic as possible. Right, we're going to carry on and see if we can't find this male leopard, and while we do, let's go across to Jamie, who's got an elephant.
I do indeed. I have the young male elephant that fortunately has found himself distracted by a branch. Hey, mister. You took an interesting sighting and made it, well, even more interesting. We're talking about elephant menopause and the fact that we were talking about how all mammals are born with the eggs that they're going to produce in their lives. So the contraceptive program that I was not involved with specifically, but just in terms of monitoring the elephants, because obviously with such a long-lived animal, the effects of something like that will also be very, very long-lived and not necessarily felt until decades after an establishment of a contraceptive program. And this was not hormonal, this program. It was basically antibody related, and I'm not going to go into the full science of it, but suffice to say, essentially, antibodies formed a layer around the elephant's eggs to prevent fertilization. But what it meant for the elephants is they were actually going into estrus far more regularly than they might otherwise, because in a natural wild state, an elephant comes into estrus or into heat, she mates with a male. If fertilization doesn't occur that time, then it's going to occur the next time. I mean, it happens regularly. Then they're pregnant for 2 years, and then they have their baby, they lactate, come into estrus again around about when that baby's about 3 years old. So there's quite a big gap between the times at which the eggs are actually released and ready to be fertilized. But obviously on the contraceptive program, they're being used more and more regularly, or released more and more regularly. One of the big questions was, will that actually take the females into an earlier menopause, or will they not? The end result has been that it hasn't at all affected that, because the elephants produce sufficient eggs that it wasn't going to cause that situation to occur. But it did it's complex and it's a bit confusing, and I'm trying to oversimplify it ever so slightly. But it's an interesting situation, because as far as I know, whales do go through menopause, don't they? And I'm just thinking in terms of comparing big animals to small animals. I'm actually asking this as a question to all of you. Am I correct? I'm sure I read somewhere once that whales do go through menopause. I'm not sure if all species do. And yet elephants don't. Obviously, as they get older, the chances of successful fertilization, the chances of successfully carrying a baby to full term will be slightly smaller. Anyway, let me know if I'm wrong about that. #SafariLive on Twitter. I'm going to go and do some more research on that, because now I'm very curious as to why that might be. Alright, while we watch our elephant thankfully distracted by something on the ground, not a baby elephant this time, let's go and find out what Tristan has found for you.
Well, we've been distracted by the beauty of 2 Bateleur eagles. Are they not the most magnificent looking birds, with those jet black feathers, those bright red faces and bright red legs? They really are very, very pretty. And this is a pair that is on this area quite a lot. Well, we're around sort of Leadwood, close to Cheetah Cutline, and we've seen them quite often. But interestingly enough, there is another adult bird that is not too far away, and I wonder if it's not trying to push into this area. And you'll find with Bateleurs, generally they pair together for life, and so I'm sure they won't take kindly to an intruder in their area and might potentially chase him away. So we might see a bit of action between them. But what we've got is we've got the male away from us, so he's the furthest away, and the female is the one closest to us. And the reason why we know that is if we look at the wings of these birds, you'll see the one closest to us has got that sort of grey-white on top, and then it's a jet black wing all the way down towards the tail. Whereas the bird at the back, you see there's a white bar on the low down on the wing, and so that's how we know the difference between male and female. The male has that white barring, whereas the female just has jet black like that. So it's an easy way to be able to tell male and female apart. And these guys are still just waiting for the sun to kind of get some thermals going. It was quite a cold start to the morning. It's about 16 degrees or 60 degrees Fahrenheit this morning. And so for these birds, very little thermals would have been rising. And given that they're a bird that doesn't have a very long tail and they're not very stable in flight, they do need thermals to be able to get up and search for prey that they are looking for. They are carrion feeders, which means that they need those thermals to get up, and then they just scan along, much like a vulture does. And you'll often find they're the first ones at a carcass. So when you see Bateleurs sitting, and if there's vultures and tawny eagles with them, then you can be sure that there's something fresh that is dead close by. So that is what they're doing, and you'll find that they ruffle their feathers up every now and then and just grooming themselves. But I love Bateleurs' heads. They've got these big round bulky heads, and when the breeze blows, all their feathers fluff up, and they end up getting this kind of big round look to them, and almost like they've got a perm that's been done to their head. So they really are quite beautiful birds. You can see a bit of the yellow on the beak there as well. Very, very pretty. Oh, that's pretty agile. Well done. Yoga instructors would be very impressed. So Adele, they are called Batelier eagles. So Batelier eagles is their name, and the name is a French word, and we were talking to Seb, who's our French consultant these days, because Seb is French by origin, and we were asking him exactly what it means, and he was basically saying it's the sort of balancing act in a circus. So when they kind of trapeze artists are walking on a tightrope and they're balancing, and that pole is sort of moving from side to side, that's where they've gotten their name from. And the reason why is when they fly. Good morning to you too, Franklin. Don't know what's disturbed it. Maybe it's just noticed the eagles. It's a little crested Franklin that's making all that noise. There it is, behind all of that horrible vegetation. In fact, I lie, it's a Natal Franklin. Sorry about that, everybody. But I was back to the Batelier eagles. So when they fly, because of the very short tail that they have, they end up being very unstable in flight. And the reason why they don't need to be stable in flight is because they don't hunt on the wing. Because they're looking for carrion, they don't actually need to be that agile. They're able just to kind of float down and find the food there that's not actually moving. And so that's where their name came to, because as they fly, they kind of rock much like those trapeze artists would do. But the interesting thing about these Batelier eagles is that you can see with them is when they start out as young eagles, as little juveniles, they have these sort of brown, very dull appearance that you see there with this grey face, and that is when they are tiny babies. And it will take them 7 years to go from this coloration to the adults on top, which we're seeing now. So those are the adults that we're seeing, and you can see the female on the right with that black that I was talking about, whereas the male's got that white bar on the wing that we saw up there. And so they really are very, very beautiful. And you can imagine waiting 7 years as a bird to be able to go from sort of dull brown plumage to these bright colors to be able to mate. Very, very cool indeed. Right, I think we're going to leave our Batelier eagles to enjoy the sunshine, and we're going to carry on. And while we kind of move along and enjoy the sunshine for ourselves, let's go across to James Henry, who's still on foot and must be loving this warm sun on his back as he walks through the African bush.
Your nose is big.
Now, possibly for the very last time this season, we are sitting with Hibiscus micrantha. And this is the first example that I've seen since Judy H. very kindly told me what plant it was, that I've seen it with these beautiful purple flowers. Now, at the beginning of the season, they tend to be a slightly deeper pink. They're sort of a really dark, gorgeous pink. But now, just a gentle purple, and they will eventually go white, and then they will form the seeds. And probably the very last, sort of few plants before they'll all go dormant until next year. I don't know if they're annual or perennial. I think they're probably annuals. And I think they will need to be cast to the wind to come alive again. Isn't it pretty? It's the most gorgeous little flower. And if you're wondering how can we possibly tell that it's a hibiscus other than through the brilliance of various viewers, the leaves are actually quite similar to all the others. They're very hairy, they're quite sticky, and once you know that it's a hibiscus, you certainly say to yourself, yes, well, of course it must be. Now, there are two other things I want to show you. The first is a spider that is almost completely invisible. I don't think you can see it, can you, Seb? There it is. Oh, okay, I'll pick it up. Here. You see how tiny it is? I don't know if you'll even be... Do you think you'll be able to see it?
It needs to stop moving.
It needs to stop blowing in the wind. It's about 1 millimeter long. And it lives on this hibiscus plant. It's almost impossible to see it so tiny, and I can't hold it still because it's blowing in the wind. There, it's climbed onto my hand. I didn't like the taste of my hand.
We can see something.
You can see something there, but you wouldn't know that it was a spider there. It's on my fingers now. Looks like a little crab spider. You see it there? And I will put it straight back onto its hibiscus. Can you see it? It's jumping all over the place.
Now we've got it.
Now it's gone. Anyway, there it is. It's on my leg now. Let's put it back here. Okay, then what I wanted to show you, and I've shown you this before, but it's becoming more and more relevant because we are spending a lot more time in the Mara now, and we will be spending a great deal of time there shortly. That is when Brent refers to the red oatgrass. This is it. It is called red grass here, just not red oatgrass, and Themida triandra is the Latin name or the botanical name. And this is the most fertile or most impressive grazing grass in all of Africa. And it's why that area, which is so covered in this oatgrass, is able to sustain such vast populations of animals, but for a limited period. Because once it turns to straw, once it turns to the seeding stage, you'll find that its value as a forage becomes much, much less because the leaf production ceases, and that, of course, is what the animals want to eat. Then as we sit here in what is now a burgeoningly hot morning, let's cast our eye up towards that dead knobthorn over there, if you don't mind. Can you see it there, Seb? There is a juvenile red-billed hornbill doing its little display. And I know it's juvenile because its beak is just too small for it to be an adult. But clearly it's now learning to do the territorial dance. It'll start again now, watch. This is another one calling from just behind us. It's a wonder to me that more of these things don't get taken out by eagles, because they sit here for hours on end sometimes at the tops of these trees doing this funny little dance, and it doesn't look like they're paying attention to anything other than each other. See, now the other one will start calling, and then this one will start going again. Now all is quiet. I can just hear some footfalls of something, probably Nyala or Impala. Marvellous. All right, we're going to get up off the ground here, keep on our walk. Tristan has got something that birds like to live in. Can you guess possibly what it is?
Well, James, if I had to guess, I would probably say a nest. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I would guess. But what we've got is this large structure in the middle, and there's a baby eagle in there. I can't tell you what eagle it is, to be honest. It's quite far away and very, very difficult to see on the monitor in the car. And I forgot my binoculars behind, which is a tragedy. So I can't actually see exactly what bird it is. I wonder if it's not a baby for these Bateleur eagles, or it could potentially be the African hawk eagle chick. Now, at the moment, the African hawk eagles are busy nesting, and so it could be one of those, but it's so difficult to see. Now, for those of you who can't make it out, in the middle of the nest, there's almost like a lightish little bump on top there, and that is where the little chick is. Every now and then you'll see the wings move, or its back moves a little bit. There we go. See that little bit of movement? It almost looks like leaves blowing, but it's actually the bird moving around there. Now, I can't tell you what it is. It would be really a far stretch for me to ID that positively. I'll have to bring my binoculars back and see if I can't get a little bit closer. But isn't that a beautiful nest? They've got such a beautiful view from where they are. So whoever's built that nest has chosen a prime location. It's in a big knobthorn, which is great for protection. So it means that it's going to be difficult for a lot of birds of prey to actually get inside there because of all the thorns and varying other things. And because it's in the middle of the tree, we know that it's in all likelihood not a vulture. Vultures like white-backed vultures, lappet-faced, white-headeds, they all like to nest on the top of a tree. They're not nesters in the middle of the tree. The ones that will nest in the middle of the tree is normally the hooded vulture, but the hooded vulture doesn't like thorn trees like this. Hooded vultures prefer to use jackalberries or big scotias on the edges of ravines. So this wouldn't be that. So my guess is either the Bateleur eagles that we saw just now, or those African hawk eagles. But to see the size of that chick now, it's still quite small, so we're going to have to just monitor it and see how it goes. but it's almost impossible to see when it ducks its head down again. You can't see anything, so it's just the back that we're looking at now. We will definitely try and keep up and see what it is. It'll be quite fascinating to follow the progress of this chick over the next few months and see how it goes and see if the adults bring anything back, and maybe if we can positively idea it. I'll come back this afternoon with a pair of binoculars and then have a little look. But if there's anybody out there that's willing to risk an ID on this particular bird, hashtag Safari Live and let me know what you think. But very pretty, isn't it? Like I say, prime real estate. I think we shall leave them there though and carry on and see if I can't come back in a few days' time. Now let's try and get out of here without doing ourselves an injury. I know that there was a few stumps around, so Craig, you might have to just direct me back there. There we go. We've missed the major stump, which is good. Craig's directing skills are good, so we shall continue to trust him over the next few days. Right, so we're out and back on the road, which means we can continue our journey. And somebody else who's continued their journey is Jamie and found herself at a waterhole.
I had come to the waterhole in the hope of finding some elephants, but what I found instead were 3 hippopotamus at Buffelshoek Dam. So we've gone from 3 to 4 to 5 back to 3 again. I know that Taylor had 2 males fighting here, not fighting, but displaying here a couple of days ago. And obviously one has proved to be triumphant and become the new dominant bull of the Buffelshoek waterhole. I think these hippopotamus have had something of a tough morning. Judging by the number of elephants that we saw earlier and the number of elephant tracks that are around, I would say that there's a very good chance that all of them were here drinking a bit earlier. And although Buffelshoek Dam's got plenty of space, it's nice and big. We're getting closer. It still makes a hippopotamus feel uncomfortable, especially when the elephants start to go for a swim, because elephants will chase hippo. Not all the time, but young male elephants especially. They like to show off how big and how strong they are. And laugh. I think this is where Taylor also had the mating hippos, if I'm not mistaken, at Buffelshoek Dam. There are lots of action happening here these days. Hard to believe this is the same place where a year ago it was completely dry. Now, Riti, you want to know if hippopotamus are a threat or prey to any of the other animals. They're certainly a potential threat to human beings if you're not cautious around waterholes or around areas where hippos like to gather. In terms of prey, the only thing really capable of eating a hippopotamus or catching and killing a hippopotamus is a pride of lions, and you need quite a big pride of lions, probably with a male included as well. Unless, of course, as was seen during the drought, the hippo is in very bad state, in very bad condition, in which case the lions have a slightly better time of things. There are rare cases where people have reported big groups of crocodile attacking hippo, but again, that only occurs where that hippo is really badly weakened for some reason. Something's happened, whether it's hungry, whether it's injured, something's happened to make it vulnerable. That doesn't regularly occur. On the other side of the coin, hippo do occasionally kill crocodiles, especially if they get too close to their calves. And a hippo can open its mouth basically 180 degrees, and it's got very sharp tusks. Otherwise, there's not much that a hippo is a threat to. Almost everything out here is faster than it, except for us as human beings. So occasionally, if they're feeling really grumpy, they might chase something away from the water's edge. We saw a couple of standoffs during the drought between big buffalo bulls and that hippopotamus that lived in the pan outside of the lodge. And he wasn't particularly willing to share, but you could hardly blame him because it wasn't like he had a particularly large space to share with other animals. Tammy, you say we often speak of the last drought and how little rain did we get. We're not recovered, actually, to be completely honest with you. We talk about it as though we're out of the drought, but that's not actually the case. We're not out of the drought completely yet. WildEarthTV Dam is still far lower than it's ever been. Tammy, I think in total in our rainy season we must have had about a fifth of our annual average rainfall. I don't think we got much more than 100 mils of rain in an entire year. And not only that, it wasn't just the drought, it was the temperatures. I've never experienced a summer like that, and I'm actually quite good with heat. I don't get too hot all that easily. But over 40 degrees, 45, 46, 47 every single day, without relief, without rain, without the storms, it was seriously intense. And as a result, all of the water holes that we've taken you to, the ones that you see regularly, they were dry. Everything was dry. And there was not a blade of grass that was left. I tell you what, Ferg, if we can have a look at Buffelshoek Dam in total. Let's have a look at the whole of Buffelshoek Dam. There you go. That's what Buffelshoek Dam looks like now. Now, those of you that have been watching since the drought, and there's lots of you, I know that, can you send through your screenshots on #SafariLive of some of the places that we visit, Buffelshoek Dam being the most obvious one, but some of the places that we visit regularly, and just have a look at what was left. Because it was awful. We were walking past dead buffalo every single day, dying buffalo. The lions had a great time, in theory, but it was, I don't know, I found it utterly heartbreaking. I went to visit Kruger. The rivers were dry. Olifantsfontein was dry, Letaba was dry, and apparently they're still not full. They're flowing, but they haven't fully recovered. So it takes a lot to get past a drought like that. And it's horrible to watch, but it does do certain things in terms of the animals that have survived, have probably got the strongest genetics. The Sabi Sand did remove a huge number of hippo, though. They were taken out of these dams because all of them are man-made. So there shouldn't really be hippopotamus in this area, but because there are man-made dams, they decided to remove the hippopotamus that had been brought in here. All right, Ferg, let's go search for that bird that's calling. Can you see it?
I have just seen the tawny, or if it was a tawny.
I don't even know if it was a tawny. I just saw a flash of it. I can hear it calling.
It's up ahead on one of those dead.
On a dead tree. One of those dead trees. The one without the bark.
There it goes.
Oh, there it goes. Being chased. I wonder if it... Let's see if we can have a closer look at it. I've, of course, forgot my binoculars. I took them out on walk yesterday and then forgot them. Can you see it there, Ferg? Oh, goodness. Down a little. You were on the right spot. Oh, bye-bye. Now being chased again by the fork-tailed drongo. It looks too small for an eagle. I don't think it is an eagle. Ah, got it. I see where it is. Let's go find it. Let's go see what it is. Do you remember what quarantine looked like? The clearing outside of our camp during that drought. It was just basically sand. It was a wasteland. Alright, I'm going to search and see if I can get closer to this bird of prey. While I do, let's find out what Tristan's up to.
So we're just coming along, checking up towards Treehouse Dam, seeing if there's any sign of maybe little shongile. I've had no luck in finding any tracks for that male leopard, and there are tracks for elephants all over the place. So if there was any sign of a leopard here, it's been absolutely squashed by everything that has walked around. So we'll just try and see if there is anything else. Now, shongile has been a little bit scarce. I actually haven't heard too much about her and not too many sightings of her. I wonder if she's maybe just taking it easy and hiding out and keeping a low profile. Ah, surprise, surprise. The animal of the last 2 days is the elephant, and here we have a whole herd of them that has just left Treehouse Dam. There's 2 bulls that are still behind. Hello, boys. Now, these two seem to be just having a little bit of a drink, so we're going to just try and see if they're going to stay around. It looked like it might be Fang's herd because of this male without facing tusks, and so while we kind of follow in behind this herd, because it seems like they're all departing the dam now, let's go back to James, who is playing with things that are rather sticky and fun to throw at other people.
Yes, I suppose I am playing with things that are sticky and rather like holding on to people. They are blackjacks, and they are an exotic species that has sort of exploded all the way around South Africa, but again, much like those very pretty zinnias, those very pretty red star zinnias, or black-eyed Susans sometimes they're called, although that is the wrong name for them because that's a different flower, they are not invasive, so they are not indigenous, they're exotics, but they're not invasive. They don't take over huge swathes of land. And of course, they became famous for Wild Earth. They were made famous by Steph and by Herbert, who taught us, of course, that you can eat the leaves, which you can. But once the leaves have gone away and yellow flowers, pretty yellow flowers have gone, they leave these spiky things that give them their name, the blackjack, and the seed is inside here. And that little piece there, right at the end, is what sticks into people. They're not sticky at all.
Stay there.
I'll stay right here. That little sticky bit there at the end is what sticks to people. And I suppose it is slightly like a gecko's foot. So if I push it onto myself, there it is. Can you see it? See it? Yeah. And when I say it's like a gecko's foot, I mean it's got such very tiny, almost nanoscopic attachments on it. And that's how it manages to get in between even the smoothest surface. Alright, that is the blackjack. Good. I just thought I would stop and tell you about the blackjack because we haven't found a great deal else since we saw the grass with you last. We saw one lilac-breasted rover which took one look at Seb and flew away at great speed, and so that's really all we've had. Then the other thing, of course, that you can make your breakfast out of in the summertime, including the salad and peppery flavour provided by the blackjack, is the oat-like flavour of Panica maximum. Herbert is looking at me with great suspicion. And they do taste delicious. So some very, very nice sweet oats. Fortunately, the huge amount of fibre on it, and just quite difficult to swallow. While I try and swallow my breakfast, Tristan, I believe, has managed to find some, I'm trying to be cryptic, elephants.
We have indeed, and they are slowly meandering off into the bush. They've left Treehouse Dam and are maybe going up now in search of some food and shade. As it starts to get hot, you can see there is some sun glaring off his back, and so it is starting to get quite warm now, and would potentially mean that they are going to try and find shadier areas to frequent in order to feed. So we're going to try just see if I can't loop around and find them on Weaver's Nest. It looks like they are heading in that direction, so I'm going to try and just see if I can't catch up at the front of the herd, because this is one of the cheeky boys at the back who is been giving us a hard time as we tried to kind of come over the dam wall. He had his ears out, he was spraying water at us, which is normal for a young male. They often are that way. So let's see if we can't just catch up with the rest of them. You can see he's fallen way behind now. You actually can't see any of the other elephants, and just now when we came towards the dam, I actually saw the whole herd disappearing up here. So he needs to catch up a little bit. So we're going to try and just get to the front of them and see if we can't catch up with the rest of them ourselves. But it seems to be elephant heaven at the moment on Djuma. I don't know why all of a sudden there are so many of them around, and in everywhere. It just seems you drive any part of Djuma at the moment and there's tracks for them. And last week we couldn't even find a single sign of an elephant. So it's really quite amazing how quickly it changes and where they come from. What it has been interesting to notice is that they've mostly been coming from the south, which means I think these elephants have been coming off the Sand River and the Sabi River and are now coming up into these areas. And maybe it's because there was a bit of rain that fell last week and maybe didn't fall further south of us, and so the elephants are now making use of that rain and now heading up into these areas to feed off this vegetation that's going to grow with a bit of sunshine after the rain. So that's maybe why we've got a sudden influx of them in this area. It would explain, well, certainly be a good enough explanation for it. It's otherwise complete mystery as to why they would. So Trish, you're asking if there's certain areas in the park where we always find elephants. Yes, so if you go onto the Sabi River, you will find elephants at some point during the day. If you go onto the Olifants River, the Letaba River, the Shingwetsi River, they all have elephants along them at pretty much every time of the year. Also, if you head north of where we are now into the Kruger Park and you go north of Olifants Camp, which is the Afrikaans word for elephant, and you go start heading up that way, then in those Mapani thickets, if you do not see an elephant, then you are incredibly unlucky, or you may have an eye problem and then should therefore see a doctor, or not a doctor, should we say an optometrist, to be able to sort those eyes out, because there are elephants everywhere up there. So there's pretty much elephants all over that place, and then that's an area where you'll find elephants throughout the year. Here in Djuma, we pretty much do see elephants throughout the year. We'll just go through stages where we have 2 or 3 days where none of them are around, but pretty much all year round there are elephants moving about this particular section. Now, I'm just trying to catch up with them. I see one of the bulls is moving in front of me here. I don't know if it's our same one that we just left or if it's the beginning of the herd. And no, I think it's our bull elephant from just now. There's some more coming. So we should be catching up with them shortly. Hold on, Craig, we're just going to come around this bend and they should be coming out. And for some reason they really are moving quite quickly. I'm not sure if they want to get somewhere, if they're trying to catch up with another herd. Let's see. Right, so this should be the beginning of the herd. There we go. And you can see what I mean about them coming down with a bit of speed. Yes, hello, I'm sorry that we parked in your way. So this is more of the younger ones. So none of the big adults have arrived just yet. Hello. Are you showing us how big you are? And it looks like another one of the young boys. Interesting enough, earlier we had a massive male elephant on Cheetah Plains, and it seems like he had a massive abscess around his tusk, and what reminded me of it is this one's got a little sort of secretion around its right eye. I can't see exactly what it is, but it almost looks other eye. There we go. So you can see there's quite a bit there, and I can't see if it's a little wound that's gaping there, but this big bull elephant also had a massive amount of pus that was leaking down his trunk from a big abscess. It was not very pleasant at all. Have you got an itchy ear now, or itchy top of your head? Well, you better take care of that. And a typical young boy, very, very interested in us and just coming to see what we're up to, and now we'll start feeding. And sometimes what you'll find is when they kind of feed like this, it's displacement behavior. So they're just pretending like they're feeding so that they can watch us, and as soon as they sort of realize that we're not in any way a threat, he'll carry on, and you'll find that they actually drop a lot of the food out of their mouth and don't actually eat it. It's more just a sort of disguise to be able to watch us. Now, they should slowly be coming out in front of us. I'm not going to move from here because I'm hoping that they're going to all cross the road one by one in front. I can't see if it is Fang's herd. There's a couple young males that look pretty similar to the ones that are in her herd, but I haven't actually seen her yet, so we'll just wait and see. There's sort of sounds of quite a few of them breaking branches in the vegetation around us, so I would imagine that the females will start coming out shortly, and again they're going straight towards where the hyena den is, so a lot of them are kind of coming past and heading towards that den area, and I wonder if they're not sort of interested in what's going on there. It's strange that they always keep following the same path to the den itself, and the other day we had a male feeding on top of the den. Now, I'm going to just try and sneak forward just a little bit. Wait, hold on, there's a female that's coming across now. Here she comes. can hear all the noises. It seems like one of them's got something in its trunk because it keeps blowing quite heavily. And then you can also see that beautiful angled forehead of a female, and why we know it's a female from quite a way away. You can see how angular it is. It almost becomes squared off at the top, whereas the bulls tend to have a little bit more of a rounded forehead. There's a little baby. Hello, little one. I love how their ears go out and their tail goes straight as they cross the road. Always such comical creatures when they're so little. Now it seems that's the first two that have come over, and the rest are slowly but surely coming down. It has gotten much, much warmer, so I would imagine they are starting to now head towards sort of deeper vegetation. It looks like they're heading into this drainage line that runs just in this direction here. You can actually see that green sort of belt and thickets that run there, and that'll be a great place for elephants to spend time because it's going to be a lot shadier than it would be anywhere else. And there was also water inside there. So I'm sorry, I didn't hear the name, Chantal. If you can just repeat that for me. So Violet, you're wondering if the elephant with the hole in its ear is still around. I presume you're talking about Daryl. This is the elephant that you're talking about, the one that Taylor has had so many experiences with. Well, I haven't seen Daryl myself personally at Djuma yet. I have seen him once before at Lion Sands, and I've seen him at Simambili before, but I've never seen him here at Djuma. So I would imagine that yes, he is still around. I know Taylor saw him a few weeks ago, and I know James has seen him a few times, and so is Jamie and Brent, and so he is around. And you'll find maybe with this movement of so many females coming through at the moment that maybe Daryl will make an appearance again, and we'll find him with his hole in his ear. Now it seems like we've got a tiny little baby to our back here, which I'm going to just try and reposition so we can see it coming across the road. Hold on, Craig. Although she might be coming right towards us. So I'm just going to try and reposition for Craig to be able to show you, because the rest of the herd seems to be coming down. Okay, girls. Yes. Hey. So you can see the females are just making sure that the road is safe for them to be able to cross over and keep their babies nice and safe. So it's not Fang's herd that is here. I don't see her. So it's just a different group of Ellies that are coming past. There we go. Okay, everybody's safe. We can all calm down now. I think they got a bit flustered because all the little babies were coming down the hill with a bit of speed, and the females didn't want them to be close to us and created a little barrier. Right, so we're going to probably leave our Ellies. They're going into a big thicket, and James Henry, I believe, has got a rather large lizard he would like to show all of you.
There is a water monitor lizard. Can you still see it, Seb?
Yeah,
and he's very hidden. It's not the same very large water monitor lizard that has made this place its home. We're back at the Djuma Dam, and this water monitor lizard, well, it's probably about half the size of that enormous behemoth that we've seen swimming around in here before. There are also lots of... You got in there?
Gone underwater.
Okay. He's just gone underwater. He's hunting. There are, of course, also lots and lots of terrapins around here, and we can see them and their shadows there in the water. There were some on Ronald's Beach a little bit earlier. And Ronald's Beach, of course, is the beach on which we put the rover. There are the terrapins, the serrated hinged terrapins. And if you were somebody who liked the wilderness and you enjoyed this time of the year, and this time of the year is so beautiful out here, this would be a good spot to bring a deck chair, a book, and a good sort of little picnic basket, and just sit and while away the morning. Because things are going to come down to drink. The birds will come and forage at the shoreline. The terrapins will come up periodically onto the beach to warm themselves in the sun. And maybe the odd elephant will come down and have a drink as well. There is also a pair of Egyptian gooses right at the far end of the waterhole there. And you see the Egyptian gooses. There they are. And they do not seem to have any youngsters, unlike the very competent parents that are the Egyptian geese at Chitwa Dam. This lot not so successful. And our little family of white-faced whistling ducks seems to have moved off to fairer climes somewhere else. They don't migrate, but I don't know where they've gone. I don't think they migrate. Maybe they do. I don't think they do. So all very peaceful, and the kind of space that you would like to spend a lot of time. Esther, while we look at Egyptian geese, which are probably the most common bird that you can find, or most widely distributed bird in all of Africa, you say, what is the rarest animal to see in all of Africa? The rarest mammal, of course, is the simian fox, or the simian jackal, or simian wolf. It's like a jackal that lives up in the highlands of Ethiopia. That would be probably the rarest, certainly one of the rarest mammals that you can see out here. The rarest animal would probably include something, some sort of insect that is about to go extinct, and probably no one's ever seen it or known about it, and it's probably gone extinct now. So we'll be losing animals all the time to extinction, but those will be animals that we don't really come across hugely. What else would be extremely rare? There are a number of very rare bird species. Those cranes, the grey-crowned cranes that we saw in the Mara with Brent a few times, they are definitely very endangered, or highly endangered. In fact, I know what the rarest mammal is. The very rarest mammal is the northern white rhino, which is now functionally extinct in the wild. I think there is one male left somewhere in captivity, and so that species is heading for extinction. I think there is one in a zoo somewhere, but that one last remaining northern white rhino would be the rarest, I suppose, animal in all of Africa. But like I said, there'll be a lot of insects and that sort of thing which pass into existence and then out of existence without our even noticing them. That's a nice question. Thank you, Esther. Right, let's walk along here. Herbert seems to be examining something on the dam wall here. This is the perfect place to be viewing elephants from. This would be ideal if we hadn't heard of elephants coming down to drink here, because they wouldn't be too threatened by us. They'd be able to see us, and we, of course, would be able to sit here in relative safety and watch them come down. Unfortunately, there are no elephants here right now, but we did have the most fantastic elephant sighting earlier on. And I think certainly one of my top elephant herd sightings, one of the top that I've ever had, probably. And I hope, like I said to you while we were looking at the elephants, I hope that we're able to transfer that feeling of being on foot with the elephants to the camera. I think we do that much more easily in the vehicle, and I think because we get so close in the vehicle, sometimes I think when we're on foot and you see something at a distance like that, it's quite difficult to transfer the different feeling that it is to be on foot with those animals. Herbert, what have you found? Nothing. Thank you very much. He's deeply frustrated by life at the moment, of course, because Hosanna managed to disappear. What have you found now? A plant growing in another plant. What do you think it is? A senna. I think you are correct. So here we have a knobthorn tree, and in this knobthorn tree I tried desperately at one stage to plant a leopard orchid. I hoped it would grow, and then a beastly squirrel came up and ate it out of the knot that I planted it in. But this senna tree, the exotic senna, has managed to seed itself in the rotting wood up top here. Let me just have a look inside and try not to fall off. And what we have here, what it's growing in basically is a whole lot of rotting wood that is basically turned to soil, so it will retain some sort of nutrients. The seed of this has probably been dropped here by a bird, and now it's growing out of is growing out of this knobthorn tree. I'm just laughing at Sebastian here, who is behaving in a very flamboyant and French fashion. Let's head across to Tristan, who I believe has got a footprint.
We do. We have more than one, though. We don't just have the one footprint. And while we were with those Ellies, I thought, well, let's just go check out the hyena den. I know many of you have been wondering whether or not it's still active and if we actually are checking it. But this is just to prove that it is indeed still active. So those tracks are all from last night or early hours of this morning, and so it's tracks for both ribbon. There's adult tracks there, and the little cub tracks are also in amongst there. You can see the smaller ones around as well, and that's where they were resting this morning before going back into their den, because it is now very, very hot. But it's good news to know that they are still here and they are still with their mom, so I'm glad to see that there are fresh signs of them. They came here a few days ago and there was no fresh tracks at all over the last sort of 2-3 days, and I was getting a bit worried that they maybe have moved the den, but it seems that they are still here. So this afternoon might be a really good plan, just around sunset, to come and have a look, and hopefully they'll be out and about, and particularly now because they have got new names, so we would like to see the little ones and see how they are doing. Right, so we're going to leave the den since there's no activity here, and like I say, we'll come back this afternoon and try and see, or early hours of tomorrow morning, and have a little look around. And while we do that, I believe Jamie has got a little road and she wants to show you, all of you.
I have a squirrel that basically I can relate to on every possible level. I have no idea what upset the squirrel so much. A moment ago it was standing on the edge of the branch, giving off its typical laughing alarm call. There it goes. Hey, well done, Ferg. It was chattering furiously away. My suspicion from the tone of its alarm call was that it was alarm calling at another squirrel, very angrily. But then the best part of it was it then grabbed a seed off the tree and ate it, and is now perfectly relaxed. So it went from angry, 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 hungry, fed, okay, I'm okay now. And I feel as though most of us can relate to that squirrel. Ferg, can you relate to that squirrel?
I can indeed.
Especially at this time of the morning.
Yeah,
I know exactly.
angry.
Hangry. It was a hangry squirrel. Now it's been fed. It's absolutely fine. Then it was hilarious. Right, I heard something breaking branches and chomping over here. Something large and something I'm no doubt is an elephant. I take back what I said before, the elephants are still here, as you may or may not have noticed. Okay. Or not. Promise you I heard an elephant. Huh. Pardon? Disappeared like an old oak table. I've never heard that before. Oh, of course I have heard that before. Blackadder at its finest. Oh. Found the elephant. This is a part of driving where you're meant to stay on the road. Whoops, did it again. Oh dear. I'm like that squirrel, Ferg. Very much like that squirrel. They're the Ellies. Hello. It's not the direction I heard the elephant breaking branches in, but nevertheless, probably all part of the same herd. Well, I'm happy. I, for one, am very happy that the elephants are still around. It bodes well for the afternoon's sunset safari. If this wind dies down and the sun comes out properly, then we should get some really nice sightings of them drinking around the water holes, maybe even swimming. Who knows? Have you noticed how they're eating a lot more bark and trees already? Even though the grass is still around, it's definitely become very grey and brown and dry. And the elephants are slowly but surely reverting to their dry season diet, consuming a lot of bark and a lot of tree material rather than grass. In the summer times, in the sort of peak rainy season, I would say about 80% of their dung is grass. I don't know if that equates to their diet exactly, but that would be what I would suggest in this area. Around about 80% of what they eat is grass. That's going to switch around almost completely, I would say, as we go into our dry season, once this grass starts to dry off. And then we get to enjoy sightings of them when they pull off branches and then they put them in their mouths, and it goes in one end with its bark on it, and then it comes out the other end completely stripped, and it's like this perfect conveyor belt. I don't know how they get that technique exactly right, that they obviously spin it and grind it with their molars and strip off the bark. It's exactly what this one's done with this tree that it's eating at the moment. Oh, that roller's going to roll. Just out of reach of where Ferg can point his camera. Adele, in the UK, you want to know, we spoke about what would sort of prompt an elephant female to abandon her calf. Now you want to know whether or not an elephant herd would support a sick family member or if they would push them out. They will support a sick family member as much as they can. There's a point at which the good of the herd has to come before the well-being of one. And I'm sure that the ill family member understands that. I suspect that snared trunk female, the one with the short trunk, I suspect that she probably eventually got abandoned by her herd. Whether it was because she was still caught in the snare or whether it was because she was just too slow to keep up with them, the rest of the herd will carry on. But they do look after their older and infirm members. Elephants occasionally lose their eyesight or become quite short-sighted when they get older. They're already not the best in terms of their eyesight, and the rest of the family members will guide them and will protect them. But if an elephant can't keep up, if she's just too ill, then they will eventually leave her behind. Even when a female is with her calf, an ill calf, that isn't able to keep up with the rest of the herd, eventually the herd has to leave them and go off in search of water and food. I'm sure it's a heart-wrenching experience for the elephants. I'm sure they feel it, but they have to. They can't put the needs of one above the needs of all of them. Lara, what a lovely question. Lara would like to know if the elephants smell dusty, like the inside of a hot car. That is such a brilliant description. Yes, in a way, especially in winter, there is that to them. But to me, elephants smell grassy. They smell like one of my favorite smells on the planet. There's something like freshly cut grass combined with a very warm animal smell. I don't quite know how to describe it. It's a beautiful smell. Yes, and yes, dusty. I suppose that's actually quite a good description. They do smell dusty as well. They smell, I don't know. I think they smell like one of the best things in the world, but I am biased. They smell like warmth, especially when they walk right next to you. Warmth and dirt and mud and grass. All of my favorite things as a child. And you can smell them. Like now, with the wind blowing their scent towards me, I can smell them now. I hope one day we can create that famous scratch and sniff book. Don't you think that's a great idea, Ferg? Something I've been thinking about for ages. A scratch and sniff book to accompany the live safari. So everybody gets given a scratch and sniff book, and then you scratch. We tell you to go to page whichever, and then you scratch the sticker, and it smells like what we're smelling. Maybe not rotten buffalo. On that note, it is time for us to finish off our sunrise safari. Hopefully we've got we will have some exciting things planned for you for the sunset safari. However, it is a time for us to say our farewells and our thank yous. So thank you to Fergus for his lovely camera work. Thank you, Fergus. And thank you to Chantel and Lou in Final Control, who've done a wonderful job. Well done, Chantel, on getting through your first drive as the first director. It must always be a nerve-wracking experience. Most importantly, to all of you, Chantel's focusing very carefully on the counting down here. Most importantly, a big thank you to all of you. I hope you had fun. Thank you for sending through your questions and for keeping us company on a cool winter's morning. We'll see you in a few short hours. Bye-bye, everybody.